The rise and fall of Henry Ford, how arrogance nearly destroyed his empire. Henry Ford, 1863–1947, was an American industrialist and the founder of the Ford Motor Company. He revolutionized the automobile industry by introducing the assembly line, making cars affordable for the average American. His most famous creation, the Model T, changed transportation forever. Ford was known for his innovative business practices, but also for his controversial views and labor policies. His impact on manufacturing, business, and the modern economy is still felt today. The life and legacy of Henry Ford, a deep dive into the man who revolutionized industry. Henry Ford is one of the most influential figures in American history, transforming not only transportation but also modern manufacturing, business practices, and labor conditions. He is best known as the founder of the Ford Motor Company and for pioneering the assembly line, which made automobiles affordable for the average American. However, beyond the surface, Ford's life is filled with little-known details, hidden struggles, and controversial beliefs that shaped his empire. Early life and influences 1863–1880s. Henry Ford was born on July 30, 1863, on a farm in Springwells Township, Michigan, which is now part of modern-day Dearborn. His father, William Ford, was an Irish immigrant, while his mother, Mary Ford, was of Belgian descent. Although his family expected him to take over the farm, young Henry despised farm work. However, he loved tinkering with machines. At the age of 12, Ford took apart and rebuilt a pocket watch, which became a sign of his mechanical skills. By 15, he was known around his town as a skilled repairman for broken watches and farm equipment. However, it was an encounter with a steam-powered machine that truly inspired him. One day, he saw a Nichols and Shepard road engine, a large steam-powered vehicle used for plowing fields, and it ignited his fascination with motorized transport. At 16, Henry Ford left his home to work as an apprentice machinist in Detroit, learning the craft of engine repair and metalwork. His first job was at James F. Flower & Bros, followed by Detroit Dry Dock Company, where he mastered the intricacies of engines, gears, and industrial machinery. This period set the foundation for his future innovations. The Edison connection and early experiments 1890s–1903. After working as a machinist, Ford became an engineer at the Edison Illuminating Company of Detroit in 1891. He quickly rose to chief engineer due to his problem-solving skills. It was during this time that Ford met Thomas Edison, who encouraged his ideas about building a gasoline-powered automobile. In his free time, Ford worked on experimental gas-powered vehicles in a small shed behind his house. In 1896, he completed his first automobile, the quadricycle, a lightweight, four-wheeled, gasoline-powered vehicle that could reach 20 miles per hour. It had bicycle tires, no brakes, and no reverse gear. Despite its flaws, it was a revolutionary achievement. Ford built several improved prototypes, attracting the attention of investors. However, his first two companies, Detroit Automobile Company, 1899, and Henry Ford Company, 1901, failed. The second company was reorganized by his partners into the Cadillac Motor Company, but Ford refused to stay, believing he could build a superior car. The birth of Ford Motor Company, 1903–1908. Determined to make affordable cars for the public, Ford teamed up with Alexander Malcolmson, a coal dealer, and several investors to launch the Ford Motor Company on June 16, 1903. Their first car, the Model A, was simple but well received. However, Ford had a grander vision, a car for the masses. By 1908, the Model T was introduced. It was revolutionary for several reasons. 1. Affordability. Initially priced at $850, about $28,000 today, the cost later dropped to $260 as production efficiency improved. 2. Simplicity. The car had a sturdy 20-horsepower engine, a simple manual transmission, and was easy to repair. 3. Durability. The Model T could handle rough terrain, making it ideal for American roads. 4. Mass production. Ford's most significant innovation was in how the Model T was built, through assembly line manufacturing. Within 5 years, Ford Motor Company dominated the industry, selling hundreds of thousands of cars annually. The assembly line revolution, 1913–1914. Ford's biggest breakthrough came in 1913 when he introduced the moving assembly line, which cut the time to build a Model T from 12 hours to just 93 minutes. The key innovations included specialized workers. Each worker performed a single repetitive task, increasing efficiency. Conveyor belts. Cars moved automatically along production stations, eliminating unnecessary movement. Interchangeable parts. Standardized components made repairs and replacements easier. This innovation changed the world, leading to mass production in industries beyond automobiles, including appliances, weapons, and electronics. In 1914, Ford made another shocking decision. He introduced the $5 workday, doubling workers' pay while reducing their work hours to 8 hours per day. This unheard-of move had multiple benefits. 1. Attracting the best workers. Turnover and absenteeism dropped. 2. Creating customers. Workers could now afford to buy the very cars they built. 3. Improving efficiency. A well-paid workforce meant higher productivity. This decision transformed American capitalism, influencing labor laws and minimum wage policies. Ford's controversial views and feuds 1920s-1930s. While Ford's industrial genius was undisputed, his personal views were highly controversial. He was openly anti-Semitic, publishing a newspaper called the Dearborn Independent, which spread conspiracy theories about Jewish people. His writings even inspired Nazi ideology, and Adolf Hitler once called Ford an inspiration. Ford later apologized under public pressure, but his reputation was permanently stained. Ford also hated labor unions, leading to violent clashes with the United Auto Workers (UAW). In 1937, his private security, led by the brutal Harry Bennett, attacked union organizers at the Battle of the Overpass. Ford refused to recognize unions until 1941, when a massive strike forced his hand. Decline and later years 1940s-1947. As Ford aged, his stubbornness hurt the company. He refused to modernize and was against new technologies like hydraulic brakes and automatic transmissions. His son, Edsel Ford, who was more progressive, died tragically in 1943, leaving Henry devastated. During World War II, Ford Motor Company helped build B-24 bombers for the U.S. military. However, Henry Ford, now in his late 70s, struggled to lead. In 1945, his grandson, Henry Ford II, took over, modernizing the company and steering it toward success in the post-war era. Ford passed away on April 7, 1947, at age 83. His funeral was attended by thousands, marking the end of an era. Legacy and lasting impact. Henry Ford's influence extends far beyond automobiles. His contributions include mass production techniques that revolutionized global manufacturing, higher wages and shorter workdays that changed labor economics, affordable transportation, giving millions of Americans personal mobility, infrastructure expansion, as demand for roads and highways exploded due to automobiles. Despite his flaws, Ford's impact on modern industry remains unmatched. His ability to dream big, innovate, and take risks forever changed the world. The shocking downfall of Henry Ford, the hidden truth behind his fall. Henry Ford is celebrated as one of the greatest industrialists in history, but his downfall is often overshadowed by his early triumphs. While Ford Motor Company remains a global powerhouse today, Ford himself lost control of his own empire due to arrogance, poor decisions, and a refusal to adapt. The real story of his decline is filled with secrets, one of the most shocking being that he nearly destroyed Ford Motor Company from the inside and almost led it to financial ruin. 1. The peak. How big was Henry Ford's success? Ford's success was unmatched during the early 20th century. By 1921, nearly 60% of all cars in the world were Ford Model Ts. The company was making so much money that Henry Ford personally bought out all investors in 1919 for $105 million, over $1.7 billion today, making Ford one of the richest men in the world. His factory, the River Rouge plant, was the largest industrial complex in the world, producing a car every 24 seconds. His innovations in mass production, wages, and efficiency became the blueprint for modern industry. At his peak, Ford wasn't just a businessman, he was a cultural icon, a household name, and a symbol of American ingenuity. However, his dominance wouldn't last forever. 2. The downfall. How Ford's own actions nearly destroyed his empire. Despite being an industrial genius, Henry Ford's arrogance and refusal to modernize became his downfall. The seeds of his decline were planted by his bad decisions, financial mistakes, and personal struggles. A. The Edsel Ford tragedy and a broken succession plan. Ford's only son, Edsel Ford, was meant to take over the company. Unlike his father, Edsel was forward-thinking and wanted to modernize the company with better designs, safety features, and more stylish cars. However, Henry humiliated and undermined him at every turn, refusing to listen to new ideas. The stress killed Edsel. Edsel suffered from constant stress, stomach ulcers, and health problems due to his father's cruelty. In 1943, he died from stomach cancer at just 49 years old. Henry Ford was devastated but refused to admit his role in his son's suffering. B. The Model T disaster. Ford refuses to innovate. Ford's greatest mistake was his obsession with the Model T. By the late 1920s, the Model T was outdated, and competitors like Chevrolet and Chrysler were making more stylish, faster, and comfortable cars. However, Ford refused to change the design and ignored market demands. By 1927, sales plummeted, and Ford was forced to shut down his factories for 6 months to develop a replacement, the Model A. This handed the competition a major advantage, and Ford never fully regained its former dominance. C. Financial crisis. Henry Ford nearly bankrupted his own company. Ford had once been the wealthiest automaker, but his reckless decisions drained his fortune. His stubbornness led to production delays that cost millions, lawsuits from suppliers and workers, overinvestment in failed projects, such as a failed Brazilian rubber plantation called Fordlandia, which collapsed due to mismanagement. By 1945, Ford Motor Company was on the verge of collapse, an unthinkable reality for a man who once dominated the industry. D. Industry blackballing and union wars. Ford was hated by labor unions due to his brutal anti-union stance. He hired private security goons led by Harry Bennett to beat and intimidate union organizers. The most infamous moment came in 1937, during the Battle of the Overpass, when Ford's men violently attacked labor activists. This made Ford a pariah in the business world. Other automakers, the government, and even his own employees turned against him. By the 1940s, Ford was viewed as a tyrant rather than a visionary. 3. Where is he now? Did he disappear or make a comeback? By 1945, Henry Ford was forced out of power. With his company in financial crisis and his mental health failing, his grandson, Henry Ford II, took control. Under new leadership, Ford modernized and rebounded. Henry Ford became isolated and withdrawn. He suffered from multiple strokes, and by 1947, he was barely involved in company affairs. On April 7, 1947, he died at 83 years old in Dearborn, Michigan. Unlike other fallen tycoons, Ford's name never disappeared, but his personal reputation was permanently damaged. Today, the Ford Motor Company thrives, but Henry Ford himself is remembered as both a genius and a deeply flawed man. 4. Lessons from Henry Ford's rise and fall. Henry Ford's story teaches us invaluable lessons about success, leadership, and business. A. Adapt or perish. Ford's refusal to modernize destroyed his empire's dominance. The business world constantly changes. Those who don't innovate will fall behind. B. Power can be a curse. Ford was at the top of the world, yet his own arrogance and control issues led to his downfall. Great leaders must learn to listen, delegate, and trust others. C. Treat people well. Ford paid his workers well, but his cruelty to his son and employees cost him dearly. Leadership isn't just about money, it's about how you treat those around you. D. Legacy can be tarnished. Despite his accomplishments, Ford's name is also linked to controversy, anti-Semitism, and labor exploitation. What you build can last, but your personal actions will define your ultimate legacy. Final thought. The genius and the tragedy. Henry Ford's rise and fall is one of the most dramatic stories in business history. He built an empire, changed the world, and revolutionized industry, yet his own flaws nearly destroyed everything he worked for. His story reminds us that success isn't just about innovation, it's about the ability to evolve, listen, and lead wisely.